This episode of TechNewsDay is sponsored by Upstart and by ExpressVPN.
Folks, on top of all the surreal, bizarre stuff that 2020 has thrown at us, it's looking more and more like there also really is a jetpack flying outlaw somewhere here in Los Angeles, flying around the sky, scaring the crap out of airline pilots.
Yeah.
You may recall that back at the beginning of September, 2 pilots reported some bizarre sightings to the LAX control tower. An American Airlines pilot radioed, "Tower, American 1997. We just passed a guy in a jetpack." The tower operator responded, "American 1997, okay, thank you. Were they off to your left or right side?" To which the pilot responded, "Off to the left side, maybe 300 yards or so, about our altitude." Not long after, a JetBlue pilot radioed, "We just saw the guy pass us by in the jetpack," to which the air traffic controller responded, "Only in LA."
Hey, a nice little sample of brevity there from the...
Hey! Only in LA.
It's crazy out here, right?
Anyway, you gonna want to land that thing? Because pretty crowded.
Oh, yeah, the runway. No, it's clear. Yeah, you're fine. Anyways, the fact that 2 professional pilots both saw a guy flying around in a jetpack was enough to trigger an official FBI investigation, which narrowed down where the sighting took place to a small southeast LA town of Cudahy.
Cudahy?
Whatever.
I don't know. I've literally never, there's so many weird
I've lived
little...
here for 15, 16 years, I've never heard of it.
I looked at a list of LA County cities a while back and I was like, there are so many cities in here I've literally never heard of.
Mm-hmm. 2 separate Twitter users posted videos they say were shot in mid-August in southeast LA, both of which show what sure as hell looks like a guy in a jetpack flying around up in the sky in roughly the same geographic area as the sightings that were a few weeks later. So it definitely seems like the LA jetpack guy is real. But unfortunately, we haven't heard any updates about it in the last month and a half since it was first national news.
Where did he go?
Until now.
Yeah. From the LA Times this week, Los Angeles International Airport officials are investigating reports of someone wearing a jetpack in the flight path, the second such report in a little over a month. An air traffic controller overseeing airline approaches warned a commercial pilot who was set up to land that an individual wearing a jetpack had been reported flying at about 6,500 feet. A China Airlines crew member reported seeing what appeared to be someone in a jetpack roughly 7 miles northwest of the airport about 1:45 p.m. Wednesday, according to the Federal Aviation Administration. The FAA alerted local law enforcement and is investigating the report.
So, I don't know, do airline pilots have dash cams? Because that would really be helpful here.
Yeah.
I would say that if you are a pilot watching this show who's going to be flying into LAX, get out the GoPro.
Yeah.
Get out the GoPro and set it up, and let's just see if we can't get you on the news. Look, you can get a dash cam or a GoPro for a pretty decent price.
Yeah,
dash cam's like less than $100.
Yeah, there's like a $50 one at Costco that I keep thinking about buying, and I'm like, gah. And then as soon as I get in my next car accident, I'm going to be like, damn it.
Yeah. Anyways, you'll notice the report said the sighting happened roughly 7 miles northwest of LAX, which would place this sighting around Santa Monica or Pacific Palisades. And based on flight radar playback from around when the incident took place, it was probably this China Airlines flight that did fly through the area. And reporting also indicates that while that's where the plane was, what they saw was several miles ahead over the Century City area of LA, which, for reference, that's where the Nakatomi Plaza is in Die Hard.
Yeah.
Just to give you guys an idea of where this is.
Yeah.
But you'll note that this is nowhere near where the first sightings happened, which was 13 miles east of the airport. So if this is the same person, they've decided to not only do it again despite an FBI investigation, but also to do it closer to the airport, and again, in an area with a ton of air traffic. I mean, Santa Monica has its own airport that's pretty active as well.
Yeah, I mean, like, you don't realize it. You look on these flight radar maps and you're like, it is a goddamn zoo up there. Mm-hmm. I would lose my mind as an air traffic controller. And like, I mean, if you sit near LAX at night and you look up in the sky, you can
see a line of planes.
Yeah, you'll lose count of how many planes you see off in the
we are
distance.
by far the #1 city for helicopter traffic. Where are the police helicopters not seeing this guy? What was going on?
Yeah, I don't know. Like, maybe he's just up there he just goes up, gets sighted, and then comes down. But it's like, also, wouldn't more people on the ground see it? It's very strange.
Yeah.
And spooky.
Well, the main question here is, why is this happening? Yeah. Why is this, you would assume, this one person doing this?
LA Jetpack guy is the scary clown of 2020.
I know. It's kind of cool to have something like this. A little something to have a mystery surrounding it.
Yeah.
He's our cryptid.
He is. Jetpack man.
You know what's funny?
A cryptid for a new century.
You know who needs to crack this case? back in the news again because of Saturday Night Live, but Bill Burr is now a helicopter pilot. And he always talks about flying around LA. If Bill Burr is the person to crack this case...
Hey, what the fuck is that?
What the hell is that? Because I live near the Burbank airport, and anytime I see a helicopter now, it's where he flies out of. I'm always just like...
Is that Bill?
It's just a funny image in my head to imagine Bill Burr behind like the sticks of the helicopter.
He's probably really good at it.
He sounds really good at it. He talks about it all the time.
Anyway, since you watched this show, you are aware that personal jetpacks of various designs, they're not science fiction. Haven't been for a long time. Really basic jetpacks capable of shitty, short, low-altitude flight have actually been around for decades. They're just not very useful. And in more recent years, a handful of inventors have developed much more capable personal flight inventions. Gravity Industries' dataless flight pack has jets mounted to the wearer's arms and back. The Zapata Flyboard Air is a bit like the platform that the Green Goblin uses. And Eve Rossi's jetpack uses large, rigid wings.
Like Buzz Lightyear.
Yeah. But based on those 2 cell phone videos, allegedly, of the LA jetpack person, this isn't any of those jetpacks.
I love it. It's a great cryptid.
Yeah.
Because it's real. It's been spotted by trustworthy people. Yeah. If it's a known jetpack design, it is probably the JB-10 or JB-11 from Jetpack Aviation, which it features a design that's a lot closer to what you would imagine when you hear the term jetpack.
Yeah.
Yes. Both of these, they're capable of flight up to 15,000 feet, but for less than 10 minutes on a single tank of fuel. They also cost between $250,000 and $350,000. So if this is the jetpack we're dealing with, whoever's flying it has a lot of money.
They stole it.
Yeah, that could also be, it could be a villain.
It could be like The Rocketeer, a great LA movie where a guy comes across a prototype jetpack.
Well, isn't Disney Plus supposed to be remaking this? Maybe it's just viral marketing.
It could be.
Now, why this person or people or whoever wouldn't bother just driving an hour outside of town to go fly it in the desert or in the mountains, that's anybody's guess. Or over the water.
Yeah, a lot of Southern California is empty and
feel free to do as you please.
Yeah.
But it probably just comes down to the thrill of not only flying, but also violating very strict laws that risk serious prison time.
Yeah, this is a major crime. Like, it's like, oh, what's the problem? He's flying. It's like we said, LA is packed with airplanes constantly. Yeah. Like, things could go very wrong.
And millions of people below, like, anything drops or he falls out of the sky.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It would be another 9/11 if a major plane crashed pretty much anywhere in LA. It would take out thousands of people.
If this guy got sucked into one of those motors, it would be a catastrophe.
Yeah.
Anyways, it's one thing to be a jetpack man. It's another thing to be a jetpack outlaw. And that's what we have on our hands here.
Yeah.
So, I mean, we do look forward to further updates in the Jetpack Outlaw saga. But in the meantime, an update every once or so a month has been just enough to keep that motor running.
Right when you start to forget that there's a Jetpack Outlaw roaming the skies.
He could be outside your window right now.
I could be the Jetpack Outlaw.
I could be the Jetpack Outlaw. We don't know.
Yeah.
It's like the beer baron.
He could be above you right now.
Yeah, I mean, you'd probably hear him, but who knows?
Yeah. The first sightings also happened at I don't know if it was dark yet, but they happened at night. It was like 7:30 p.m. or something
now
like that.
It gets dark at like 6 p.m.
Yeah.
So the Jetpack Man, he can fly under the cloak of darkness.
Patrolling the streets.
Is he a superhero? Is he a supervillain? I don't know.
This guy.
It could be anything. Right now, it's a real Schrodinger's Jetpack Man.
Yeah.
But yeah, based on his pattern so far, or hers, ladies,
Jetpack person.
we can probably expect him or her to just appear directly over LAX next time.
Get a little closer. Let's just...
Like Grand Theft Auto.
I can't get off anymore. I need to endanger everyone even more than before.
Yeah.
The thrill.
Got to keep pushing the envelope.
There's nothing like it.
He's going to be over the Staples Center, the SoFi Stadium, Disneyland, Magic Mountain. You know what? Maybe he'll fly to Big Bear. It's a little bit cooler out there. You can survive a little bit easier outside the heat.
Yeah.
So there you go.
We'll see.
But only 10 minutes of fuel. I guess you'd have to go pretty quick.
Yeah, that's the big drawback with these things. You can kind of just go up for a minute and then...
I mean, it could be some new prototype that actually runs more efficiently. This is some Area 51 shit.
Superhero or villain who developed their own jetpack technology that's maybe even more capable than what's else.
He could be right
out
outside
there.
the window right now. We don't even know. We don't know.
He could be in the house.
Yeah, it's crazy. Or she.
Yeah.
Sorry.
They.
Yes.
They. Yeah. We don't know. Anyways, that's enough fun news.
It's just exciting.
It's just fun to have an outlaw flying around.
Yeah. It really threw a wrench in this whole year. Yeah.
He's not well, he is endangering, like we said, he's endangering a lot of people's lives. This could go very poorly.
So far, unintentionally.
So far. So far, he's just up there, and he's been spotted. But next up in the news, there was a big Apple event this week. They did not unveil any jetpacks, so I don't know. Who gives a shit?
That man, Steve Jobs.
And also, hold on, wait, wasn't there an Apple event like a month ago that we already talked about?
Just like Jetpack, man.
Yeah.
They come by every month.
Yes, there was. They showed off new Apple Watches and iPads, and they debuted the Apple One subscription service bundle. They did not reveal the new iPhones, though, because I guess they just weren't ready. Coronavirus. Coronavirus.
You guys like edging, don't you?
Yeah. This week they did reveal the iPhone 12, though, and first off, to no one's surprise, all the iPhone 12 models have 5G capability. And in terms of design, while the last few generations of iPhone have had curved edges, all the new iPhone 12s have flat edges. Well, throwback to the iPhone 4 and 5 like they had back in the day.
Okay.
I had an iPhone 5 and I quite liked it. Anyway, also all the new iPhones feature OLED screens instead of the old LCD or LED, whatever. And when we say all the new iPhone 12s, well, that's because there's a lot of them. There's 4 different tiers to choose from this time around.
Yeah, there's the standard vanilla iPhone 12 with a 6.1-inch screen, then the iPhone 12 Mini, which, as you might guess, smaller. It has a 5.4-inch screen, but surprisingly it has the exact same hardware and features as the normal size 12, minus the screen dimensions and resolution. Both feature 2 12-megapixel cameras on the back, wide and ultra-wide, and they have smaller display borders compared to previous iPhones, along with being lighter and thinner. And they all have new screen glass called Ceramic Shield that is 4 times better at not shattering when you drop your phone. The base models start with 64 gigs of storage, and that starts at $699 for the 12 Mini, and then it's $799 for the regular 12.
Yeah, so pretty standard. I do think it's funny that the Mini version of the phone is still slightly larger than the first 5 generations of iPhone.
Yeah.
Just when it was just one iPhone to choose from. Oh, it's so small. It's no, it's really not.
James and Elise just recently did a video going through, for some reason they save all their old phones.
Some people do that.
He had an iPhone 3 or something, and I was like,
it's tiny.
I cannot believe that we once used this.
Yeah. No, it's weird. I don't know. I still usually get the standard size phones instead of the XLs.
I get the big boy phones.
Yeah, I don't like feeling like I'm walking around with a fucking Palm Pilot in my pocket. But even the modern standard size phones are so much larger than the old ones. And the old ones also had much worse resolution.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's pretty wild.
We've been through a lot in the past 12 years.
We have. You come a long way, baby. How about a Virginia Slim? But also, then there's the iPhone 12 Pro models. No noobs, professionals only.
Yes.
And these both feature much better camera systems than the standard and mini iPhone 12. Along with the wide and ultra-wide lenses, these feature a third telephoto lens. They allow you to take pictures in a new lossless format called Apple Pro RAW. And they allow video recording with high dynamic range in the Dolby Vision HDR format at up to 4K 60 FPS. And the footage looks pretty fucking good.
Yeah, so telephoto lens, great because you can't get too close to people anymore.
Yeah.
The actual video capability, the first real world actual practical use that I've seen of not the iPhone 12, but the last one actually, was there's this, I'm going to expose myself to everyone, but there's this show called The Pioneer Woman. It's a cooking show. Because of the pandemic, they filmed the entire show on iPhone 11s, and I could not tell the difference until I saw that they were filming it.
Yeah.
It looks as good as the previous way that they filmed the show with giant HD cameras.
Yeah,
it's crazy.
iPhone cameras are really damn good.
Yeah.
You can have manual control over all the major settings. Image stabilization, it's a damn good camera, and I feel like more and more professionals are using them, if not, usually not for their primary shooter, but they're just good to have.
Well, that's the thing is the only way I even know anymore that someone's shooting on a phone is when they use the selfie vision thing, and it's you can kind of tell with that. It's just I don't know, the way that it moves, or maybe I'm just used to seeing it like that. But yeah I couldn't believe that there's so many shows right now because of coronavirus that are actually shooting like that, and it's working really well.
Yeah,
you almost can't notice it. And a lot of it is due to the smoothing technology.
Yeah.
There's no jitteriness at all, which is really, really great.
Yeah, and the light sensitivity and the machine learning shit that goes into that. You can shoot in kind of low light and it looks good. Yeah, pretty much any show that has panelists or whatever that film from home are using iPhones, because you can send them to people, you can tell them, here, just do this quick checklist of setup things, and even a fucking idiot can have that thing set up and good to go.
And then you're going to get the same footage across the board with everyone that you're with.
Yeah. But yeah, pretty...
I hear the fucking jet.
I'm
not kidding. I hear the Jetpack Man.
I don't know. Could be.
Maybe look into the audio right there where we called it out and see.
I don't think they'll be able to hear it on our mics.
Well, you'll see.
Also, these Pro cameras, they feature a LiDAR sensor that will help with focusing the camera in low light, but it'll help with augmented reality a ton and presumably also allow for stuff like 3D room scanning or just like 3D scanning objects. Like, this is pretty wild. It's just a little throwaway thing. They're like, oh yeah, by the way, it also has a LiDAR camera. It's like, what?
Yeah. Like I said,
insane.
the iPhone shit is crazy, and I'm just being an old curmudgeon by not wanting to switch over from Google. But the phones are better. It's undeniable.
Yeah.
And yeah, you're gonna pay a premium for the Pro models, but like, it's hard to deny how great these phones are.
Yeah.
And that's coming from someone who loves Android.
Yeah, it's like the only thing I like really more about Android at this point still is like, I can go to like my Dropbox or Google Drive account and actually download files without Apple being like weird about like, are you pirating music? Is the year 2004?
Anyways, the Pro models are also durable thanks to the shiny stainless steel edges available in gold if you really want to show how much you paid for the damn thing. It's $1,000 for the Pro, it's $1,099 for the Pro Max, and the starting 128 gigabyte storage capacity, that's for both those prices. Luckily for a lot of people's wallets, the current iPhone product line starts with the $399 iPhone SE, the $499 iPhone XR, and the $599 iPhone 11 before getting into the new phones that range from $700 to $1,400 for the fully maxed out 512 gig iPhone 12 Pro Max, which I would assume you would need if you want to shoot in Dolby 4K.
You're shooting a bunch of like lossless photos and 4K Dolby Vision.
Yeah.
You're gonna want the big hard drive. You're not gonna be wanting to back that stuff up to iCloud when you're out of Wi-Fi range because
well, it has the 5G, Elliot.
Yeah, but still expensive.
Yes.
Anyways, also they debuted their new HomePod Mini smart speaker. Who cares?
Okay.
It kind of looks like one of those fancy, expensive Apples down at the Whole Foods where it's like individually packaged in a protective foam sleeve.
Yeah.
And that's clever, even if it's unintentional. I have no idea if it was or it wasn't. But it looks cool. And it's basically Apple's answer to every other smart home speaker.
Yeah, Google just debuted their big new one. And
so you can use Siri to control your various smart home accessories and play music. But you can also use HomePod Minis in different rooms as basically a home intercom system, which is pretty cool. Like you just assign it to like son's room, daughter's room, bedroom. And it acts as a home intercom system for probably cheaper than installing an actual home intercom system.
You're going to hear your kids fucking when they're in high school. You're going to hear it. You don't want to. Get them out of the room.
Yeah. Leave your kids alone.
Yes.
You can also use it to access your phone to do stuff like read and send messages, make phone calls, find your phone, etc. And it costs $99, which is pretty cheap by Apple standards.
Yeah.
But, it's definitely one of those products you're only going to want it if you've already gone so deep into the Apple ecosystem that there's no other way.
Yeah, it's pretty much now if you're a family and you have a big house or whatever, you have to kind of choose Amazon, Apple, or Google.
Yeah.
Because mixing and matching all that shit it's probably a nightmare to get to work.
The Sunni and Shia of the tech world, you know?
Pretty much.
It's like oil and water.
Yeah. Son, is that a bong I hear you ripping upstairs? I can hear it coming through our Apple TV.
Also, speaking of Apple, here's the latest on their ongoing battle against Epic Games. Last week, the judge granted an injunction to stop Apple from terminating Epic's developer account, which basically makes the temporary injunction from back in August permanent, which is good news for Epic, but it's especially good news for all the many, many third-party developers that use Epic's Unreal Engine to make video games. As Judge Yvonne Gonzalez-Rogers said in her ruling, Epic Games and Apple are at liberty to litigate this action for the future of the digital frontier, but their dispute should not create havoc to bystanders. Thus, the public interest weighs overwhelmingly in favor of Unreal Engine and the Epic affiliates. But basically, every game developer would be fucked. They wouldn't be able to develop games anymore.
Epic, though, they're still banned from distributing Fortnite on the App Store in its current form, which circumvents the App Store's 30% commission, and banned from publishing any new first-party games that they might develop. As for when this case, which has huge implications for the entire app ecosystem, might be decided, still unclear. Judge Rogers previously suggested a jury trial as soon as next July, but both Epic and Apple now seem to want a case decided by a judge, and it's unclear how soon that might happen. So, again, stay tuned. More happens every week.
Yep. Anyway, before we get to more news, and there's plenty more, it's time for a word from this episode's sponsors, starting with Upstart. During these economically turbulent times, everyone's looking for a way to feel more financially secure. So if you're still needlessly throwing money every single month at high-interest credit card debt, it's time to check out Upstart, the revolutionary online lending platform that knows you're more than just a credit score. Now is the time to find out how low your Upstart rate can be to help pay off high-interest credit card debt.
Unlike other lenders, Upstart can reward you based on your education and job history in the form of a smarter rate. You don't need a degree or diploma to apply, though. Upstart lets you skip going to the bank because it's completely online. They offer loans from $1,000 to $50,000 so you can consolidate your debt into one easy fixed rate payment. Upstart makes it fast and simple to check your rate. Since it's just a soft pull, it won't affect your credit score. The hard pull happens if you accept your rate and proceed with the application. Now, the best part, if the loan is approved and accepted, most people get their funds the very next business day.
Over 40,000 people have used Upstart to pay off credit cards or meet their financial goals. Free yourself from the burden of high-interest credit card debt and get back to using your money your way with Upstart. See why Upstart has a 4.9 out of 5 rating on Trustpilot and hurry to upstart.com/newsday to find out how low your Upstart rate can go. Checking your rate only takes a few minutes. That is upstart.com/newsday. And here's the fine print. Your loan amount will be determined based on your credit, income, and certain other information provided in your loan application. Not all applicants will qualify for the full amount.
This episode is also sponsored by one of our faves, ExpressVPN. Welcome back. We talk on this show a lot about how social media companies literally only want one thing, and it is disgusting: your personal data. And if you've been watching a lot of Netflix lately, you may have seen a documentary called The Social Dilemma, which features tech insiders explaining how social media is engineered to exploit users' data for profit and what they call surveillance capitalism. Say what you want about the normal capitalism that we live under, but at least you're a willing participant in the transaction. Like when you go to the store and exchange money for food. But when it's your data being harvested so tech billionaire ghouls can get even more obscenely rich, that's where we gotta draw the line, folks. Thankfully, with ExpressVPN, we've got a layer of protection around our data.
Every time you use the internet, big tech companies mine your data by tracking your searches, messages, and video history. But when you run ExpressVPN on your device, it hides your IP address, which websites use to personally identify you. That makes your activity more difficult to trace and sell to advertisers. You still need to be careful with what you share on social media, but ExpressVPN can make your web browsing more anonymous. ExpressVPN also encrypts 100% of your data to keep you safe from hackers and prying eyes. Many VPNs slow down your internet, but not ExpressVPN. It's incredibly fast and easy to use. You just tap one button and you're protected.
So if you don't like the idea of tech companies exploiting your personal information, visit expressvpn.com/newsday right now, and you can get an extra 3 months of ExpressVPN for free. That is expressvpn.com/newsday to protect your data. Go to expressvpn.com/newsday to learn more. And now let's get back into the news.
Yeah, here's some social media news. Last week we talked about how Facebook is finally cracking down hard on QAnon conspiracy theories and extremism in general, which is refreshing, but also long overdue. And now in a similar vein, Facebook announced this week that Holocaust denial has no place on their platform.
They did it, everyone. It only took over a decade.
Yeah, and like multiple mass casualty events.
Yeah.
In a blog post explaining the decision, Facebook's VP of Content Policy wrote, "Our decision is supported by the well-documented rise in anti-Semitism globally and the alarming level of ignorance about the Holocaust, especially among young people. According to a recent survey of adults in the U.S. aged 18 to 39, almost a quarter said they believed the Holocaust was a myth,
what the fuck is
that it had
wrong
been
with
exaggerated, or they weren't sure."
While still long overdue, what's refreshing here is that Mark Zuckerberg, a Jew, just 2 years ago said in an interview with Recode that basically he was cool with Holocaust denial on Facebook because he felt that most of the people doing it were just misinformed. I mean, whatever,
The
right?
free market of ideas will sort that out.
Yeah, that interview went over about as well as you would have expected. And Zuckerberg had to follow it up with a statement saying, "I personally find Holocaust denial deeply offensive, and I absolutely didn't intend to defend the intent of people who deny that."
When you're,
Oops.
You've already lost when you're like, "Look, I didn't."
I wasn't siding with the Holocaust.
I didn't intend to side with the Holocaust.
Oh my God. In contrast, though, Zuckerberg wrote the following regarding his change of heart on this subject.
"We've long taken down posts that praise hate crimes or mass murder, including the Holocaust, but with rising anti-Semitism, we're expanding our policy to prohibit any content that denies or distorts the Holocaust as well. If people search for the Holocaust on Facebook, we'll start directing you to authoritative sources to get accurate information. I've struggled with the tension between standing for free expression and the harm caused by minimizing or denying the horror of the Holocaust. My own thinking has evolved as I've seen data showing an increase in anti-Semitic violence, as have our wider policies on hate speech. Drawing the right line lines between what is and isn't acceptable speech isn't straightforward, but with the current state of the world, I believe this is the right balance.
And shortly after Facebook updated its Holocaust denial policy, Twitter followed suit. Oh, we might have a problem with that too.
Ooh.
So that's good. The Holocaust is one of the most well-documented events in history. And surprise, it didn't happen that long ago.
Yeah. It's not ancient history.
In the grand scheme of things, it didn't happen.
Relatively recent.
Literally 40 years before I was born.
Yeah. Yeah.
The Nazis, they left behind meticulous documentation about it, and experts from around the world have been studying it for the last 75 years. The only way Holocaust denial even works out logically is if there is, in fact, some sort of Jewish Illuminati controlling everything, and that's a very extreme belief, which also doesn't make a whole lot of sense, since if the Jews really had that much power over everything, an explicitly anti-Semitic leader like Hitler would have never made it as far as he did.
Yeah, it does not compute, but I guess...
Gunshot bang. Why would they do this?
Yeah. But what about the First Amendment? You bellow at your screen.
Yeah.
Well, it's almost...
I should be able to say whatever ignorant bullshit I want, even if it does inspire casualty events.
Look, at this point, it's impossible that you haven't heard this by now, but the free speech protections in the First Amendment of the Constitution certainly do protect your right to believe and say pretty much any dumb shit you want to believe and say, but it has nothing to do with whether a private company lets you post it on their website. At least for now. The Section 230 thing is looking a bit iffy. But as it stands, Twitter could ban the word penis right now if they wanted to, and there'd be nothing to stop them from doing so, no matter how ridiculous it is, no matter how mad anyone got about it.
But that could change.
Yeah.
Speaking of which, this week, Twitter also did something that upset both free speech warriors and a lot of normies when they blocked a set of New York Post stories from being linked in tweets. The New York Post stories in question were about Joe Biden and his son, Hunter Biden, and some alleged corruption that they got up to 6 years ago involving Ukraine. And it's a story that seems to have a lot of holes. Not the least of which is that the New York Post is a right-wing gutter tabloid, not exactly known for breaking huge investigative political journalism stories. But a lot of political news these days is dubious and still ends up posted on Twitter. These stories didn't. So what the hell happened?
Well, okay, so the explanation from the Twitter safety account was that the articles contained hacked materials, including personal and private information, which is a violation of Twitter policy. And yeah, I mean, these stories contain emails and photos from a computer that a computer repairman allegedly got from Hunter Biden. It's apparently his computer. There's pictures of him on there and emails and stuff. The computer repairman discovered this and sent them off to Rudy Giuliani, of all people. So, I mean, I guess that could count as hacked materials. But also, a lot of important journalism from history came from unauthorized leaks. Like, if Twitter was around in 1971, would the Pentagon Papers also be blocked? I don't know. Seems like an overreaction. Meanwhile, Twitter CEO Jack Dorsey seemed to not exactly be on board with what happened, tweeting, "Our communication around our actions on the New York Post article was not great, and blocking URL sharing via tweet or DM with zero context as to why we're blocking, unacceptable."
And now he's got to go down to Washington again. Yeah. Anyways, the whole thing is dumb because these New York Post stories, while somewhat salacious, probably wouldn't have gotten nearly as much attention if Twitter hadn't blocked it from being shared.
Yeah.
It actually amplified it.
It really did.
There's just not much to the story, and it's not good journalism, and it's probably not the sort of thing that will affect a whole lot of people's opinions about who they're voting for in 2 weeks either.
I would love to talk to the person who's like, well, I was going to vote for Joe Biden, but then I found out that his son might have introduced an executive from the Burisma oil company to Joe Biden while he was in office, and I just can't bring myself to vote. I have to vote for Donald Trump now, a man who's never been accused of any sort of graft.
Yes.
Because that's how my brain works. I would love to meet the person that exists out there whose brain works that way.
I've seen a lot of chattering on conservative Instagram that friends and family, because I don't go on Facebook anymore, so now it's seeping into Instagram about how it's much safer to have Donald Trump as president because he's immune to the virus. And Joe Biden isn't. That's the hoops that people are jumping through right now. I've seen it with my own eyes. He is immune, so therefore he is much better suited.
He's even more powerful. It's like when Gandalf came back as Gandalf the White.
The man, he's a human Katamari ball.
Yeah.
He just grows stronger.
Yeah.
The more shit
If you thought Obi-Wan was dangerous as a man, now he's a Force ghost.
I'm just saying what it's all like what I've seen.
Seems about right.
But anyways, now there's much more news about the censorship itself surrounding the New York Post article than the actual story, which the most like viral thing that had come from it were some pretty cool looking pictures of Hunter Biden.
Pretty badass.
Yeah.
Damn, what a cool guy.
Yeah. Someone that you'd want to hang out with.
Like definitely on the cool end of like divorced dad energy. Just if you smoking cigs in my bathtub.
Eric Trump, Donald Trump Jr., and Hunter Biden next to each other and said, "Who do you want to hang out with?"
Hunter, for
Easy
sure.
choice.
Yeah.
Anyways, now Republicans in Congress are trying to subpoena Jack Dorsey over what they perceive as election interference, when it's really more likely that Twitter just fucked up and overstepped it in its own efforts to prevent election interference.
Yeah.
They went above and beyond and should have retracted
Twitter rightfully probably feels a little bit guilty for all of its negative contributions to the discourse over the last decade or so.
Overcompensating.
They are definitely overcompensating. They've been doing like the fact checking on disinformation tweets and stuff, and like this one, I don't know. I'm sure we'll find out more about the background that went into this New York Post thing at some point. But all it did was it did not have the intended effect. The Streisand effect. I thought everyone understood the Streisand effect. If you try to stop, if you go out of your way to stop people from looking at something, they're going to be like, "Whoa, why don't they want me to look at it?" Mm-hmm. So whatever.
Twitter, you did a big dum-dum this week.
But yeah, it's all just still pointless because, like I said, I don't think anybody's mind is changed we're so close to the election. Like, they say that there are undecided voters out there, but I just really don't think they represent any large proportion of the population.
I wasn't trying to commit voter fraud by digging through the ballot box. I wanted to get my ballot back to change it.
Yeah.
Because I saw Hunter Biden smoking a cigarette in a bathtub.
Oh my God. Oh my God. But anyway, if you want to really get mad about something a little more consequential, a new study from the Journal of the American Medical Association looked at and analyzed mortality data and concluded that the U.S. has been pretty severely undercounting COVID-19 deaths. Basically, comparing the pretty consistent usual number of U.S. deaths in a normal year with our current year and subtracting all the official COVID-19 deaths still leaves a large excess of deaths that shouldn't be there. For example, from March to July, there were 1.3 million deaths in the U.S., so roughly 225,000 deaths higher than any normal year. But the official number of COVID deaths during that time was 150,000, which leaves 75,000 other excess deaths that aren't included in any official pandemic death tallies, but they happened. The study estimates that when 2020 is all said and done, there may be more than 400,000 excess U.S. deaths for the year, which is a lot.
Wild, yeah. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean that all of the excess deaths are directly COVID-related, though the authors do speculate that some definitely were. I mean, just statistics alone have to dictate that that's true. People who died from heart problems caused by, but not officially linked to COVID infections could be one.
Yeah.
But other reasons for excess deaths could be Americans being less willing to go to the hospital either out of fear or because they can't afford it.
Yeah.
Plus mental health problems and substance abuse stemming from unemployment and housing stability, that weighs on people.
Yeah, one thing they brought up in this is they're like, people have been driving a lot less this year. So like that should have...
It should have stopped deaths because car accidents are one of the leading causes of death.
So you take away like a decent chunk of car accident deaths, and we still have this huge excess death. It's like,
guys, something's going on
up.
Here.
Yeah.
Regardless of the exact causes, what's noteworthy is that from the month of May onward, the study didn't find similar excess deaths in other countries similar to the U.S., who also experienced huge COVID-19 outbreaks. So
it's May was the point. Like before May, like the U.S. looked all right compared to the rest of the world, and then after May, like
chaos.
Yeah, it just keeps getting worse here while things improve elsewhere. So yeah, a lot of dead people, and meanwhile, the New England Journal of Medicine, which is one of the oldest and most respected medical journals in the world, made the highly unusual decision to write an op-ed written by its editorial staff, essentially calling the current U.S. administration a medical failure, though never explicitly naming Trump or any other individuals in the administration. This is the fourth op-ed that the journal has ever published in its 208-year history. So let's close out the show by reading some selections from it.
The United States came into this crisis with enormous advantages. Along with tremendous manufacturing capacity, we have a biomedical research system that is the envy of the world. We have enormous expertise in public health, health policy, and basic biology, and have consistently been able to turn that expertise into new therapies and preventative measures. And much of that national expertise resides in government institutions. Yet our leaders have largely chosen to ignore and even denigrate experts. The response of our nation's leaders has been consistently inadequate. The federal government has largely abandoned disease control to the states. Governors have varied in their responses, not so much by party as by competence, but whatever their competence, governors do not have the tools that Washington controls. Instead of using those tools, the federal government has undermined them. The Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, which was the world's leading disease response organization, has been eviscerated and has suffered dramatic testing and policy failures. The National Institutes of Health have played a key role in vaccine development, but have been excluded from much crucial government decision-making. And the Food and Drug Administration has been shamefully politicized, appearing to respond to pressure from the administration rather than scientific evidence. Our current leaders have undercut trust in science and in government, causing damage that will certainly outlast them. Instead of relying on expertise, the administration has turned to uninformed opinion leaders and charlatans who obscure the truth and facilitate the promulgation of outright lies.
Here's more. Let's be clear about the cost of not taking even simple measures. An outbreak that has disproportionately affected communities of color has exacerbated the tensions associated with inequality. Many of our children are missing school at critical times in their social and intellectual development. The hard work of healthcare professionals who have put their lives on the line has not been used wisely. Our current leadership takes pride in the economy, but while most of the world has opened up to some extent, the United States still suffers from disease rates that have prevented many businesses from reopening, with a resultant loss of hundreds of billions of dollars and millions of jobs. And more than 200,000 Americans have died. Some deaths from COVID-19 were unavoidable, but although it is impossible to project the precise number of additional American lives lost because of weak and inappropriate government policies, it is at least in the tens of thousands in a pandemic that has already killed more Americans than any conflict since World War II. Anyone else who recklessly squandered lives and money in this way would be suffering legal consequences. Our leaders have largely claimed immunity for their actions, but this election gives us the power to render judgment. Reasonable people will certainly disagree about the many political positions taken by candidates, but truth is neither liberal nor conservative. When it comes to the response to the largest public health crisis of our time, our current political leaders have demonstrated that they are dangerously incompetent. We should not abet them and enable the deaths of thousands more Americans by allowing them to keep their jobs.
We should also vote out Dianne Feinstein, too.
I voted her out the last time. Everyone else in this stupid fucking state was like, yeah, Dianne, Yas Queen.
Go, girl.
She's 85, and that's a good thing. She knows how to do the job. You want to put Kevin DeLeon, some city councilman, up in Sacramento or in the United States?
You get what you fucking deserve.
Yeah, Dianne Feinstein sucks.
Yes.
But yeah, that op-ed, the medical industry is very apolitical the vast majority of the time. So it's very unusual to see one of the biggest medical journals just be like, yeah, no, they look, we know what we're talking about here, and the U.S. government totally fucked up. Like, this didn't have to happen.
Well, you got to put yourself in the typical American's shoes. Whenever they see a doctor, it's bad news.
Yeah.
It's bills and bad news.
Gonna put a vaccine up my butthole.
Yep. Actually, I'd like to live in blissful ignorance.
That doctor's gonna make me autistic.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's a lot for you to take on for today, so we'll leave you with that. If you want to check out more of our episodes, please check out the most recent episode right over here, and then also check out our most recent episode of Weekly Weird News. We'll be back with some news dump here in a day or two, and then we'll have more weird news, and the cycle just keeps on going. Please subscribe to the channel.
It never ends.
We're over 150 episodes this year. I am retroactively exhausted. And I'm ready for Christmas to get here and for the weather to cool down.
150 more.
Yeah.
150 more.
Bye-bye.
Ugh.